All right, we are live. Hello and welcome to the Enlightenment Exchange. Thank you for watching live if you are, and thank you for watching the replay if that's what you're doing. We really appreciate it. While we're at it, if we could just ask you to reach up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet done that. Um,
It's like
John
the
and I,
easy button.
yeah, right? Oh man, you remember that easy button? I remember back in the day, this is just a little side note. I remember back in the day the I used to call it the IRS had an easy button. You'd be on hold, and sometimes you'd be on hold for hours. Like
Hmm.
literally, put it on speakerphone, and you could be on hold for 2, 3 hours, and then all of a sudden, dead. Why? Because all the lines hung up, and
Wow.
I said, "What do they got? A giant easy button over there?" Anyway, I am so excited about this new. We finally figured out the direction we want to go. Um, we've been talking about, kind of changing it up and being of more of service and trying to figure out a way in these times um, to just help more people be a little less. Uh,
Anxious.
that's it, anxious. So I was watching videos one day, and I am not a doom scroller. I watch videos that make me smile.
Yeah.
And I saw this video with by RuPaul and shared it with John. So I want to read you the quote. Let's see if I put it up here. Maybe you can actually look at like I'm looking at you. I don't know. We'll see. But he said, with all the darkness that's going on in the world, you can look at the darkness. Don't stare. It will make you crazy. It will make you cross-eyed. It'll make you what it is.
Mm.
The solution is to create magic. Dance, sing, love. Create environments where you can find joy because you can create joy. RuPaul, thank you so much. It
Yeah.
was like an epiphany. I
Yep.
shared it with
That's really
John.
good. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it sounds better coming directly from RuPaul, but what are you going to do? Um,
Get him on the show. Come on.
yeah, right. Wouldn't that be? I mean, you really do have something about getting these people on the show. I mean, why not? The worst that could happen is they say no, right?
Right.
Anyway, so so we decided that the thing we've been looking for is joy. You know what? I have that thing being scrolled, and I just can't handle you know, give
Right.
me my ADHD brain or whatever you
Right.
want to
'Cause your
call
eyes
it.
are doing this.
Yeah, they are literally. So anyway, so we talked about it a little bit, and we decided that there are many aspects to joy and many ways that we can come at this, and so many topics available under the umbrella of joy that it could fill up to the rest of the year. I
Exactly.
mean, really, the mechanics of joy. What is joy? What are the different types of joy? Where do you find joy? And I'm always struck by how often I've done readings or sessions with people, and their message is always, do something that brings you joy, do something that feeds your joy.
Hmm.
Hey, Coventina, glad to see you back. Um, she did a program. She I know she attended a like a workshop last week, so she missed us live. Anyway, how many times I have done a session and I've asked people, what brings you joy? And they look at me and literally just don't know. And it's so sad.
Yeah.
And I think that, what do you think about this? I think, we talk about joy at Christmas, joy to the world, joy. Um, and I think that joy and happiness are two different things to some degree.
Hmm.
Um, but the truth of the matter is, happiness and joy, they kind of feed each other, don't they?
They're related. Definitely related.
But do you think that maybe joy just seems too big to people, and maybe they don't relate the idea that blowing the seeds off a dandelion and reminding them of their childhood, that's joy?
Yeah.
or
I
or
so
their child walking up and, patting their cheeks.
yep.
Joy. It's a little tiny thing, but it's joy, right?
I think people might be mystified by the question, and maybe you have to, pardon the term, but dumb it down to like, so what do you really like to do? What do you really like doing? And some people might like say, I really like listening to music. I love going to concerts. All right, okay, that's a start. Good. Talk to me about that, right? And you got to pull them into this idea of like of joy, but you start with like, what do you like to do? And
And I agree with that. I do. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I just think joy should be more accessible to people.
I do too. I do too. But for people that are having trouble with the question, that's
Oh yeah,
maybe a way to
absolutely.
start.
But I think that uh, the thing that really struck me was just how many
Mm,
people have trouble with the question, right? Like,
yep.
um, and do you think as a society, I mean, I'm stricken and reminded of, oh, I don't know, certain religions and certain familial circumstances, certain environments that make people think that joy is just not available,
Right.
or
Or that.
joy is they don't deserve it,
Yeah. It's a
or
deserved thing. Yep. Yep. It's kind of squeezed out of you.
yeah, it is. So I'm gonna go a place that I wasn't sure I was gonna go, but I'm just gonna take it for just a second. I had an interesting conversation with my friend about the old school Disney movies, the ones I
Okay.
told you I've never seen. You know,
Right.
the one with the deer and the one with the elephant and the one with the dog. Okay, and
Yep.
I
Okay.
have never seen them. My
Right.
mother would not let us watch them. I have no trouble figuring out what brings me joy.
Mm.
Now, I'm not saying that they're joy killers, but I'm saying that this person who disagreed with me and said, no, I showed them to my kids because it taught them about the real world. What if teaching them in that way, in their little minds, was just too much for them and created childhood trauma?
Hmm.
And now that
Interesting.
childhood trauma keeps them from being able to find joy.
Mhm. Well,
So,
I know for sure that childhood trauma is one of the biggest impediments to joy.
absolutely, without a doubt. And I have a client that is a therapist, and
Yep. Me too.
I'm not too far off track with that.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
it's a conversation we've had, and I'm not saying they're bad, and I'm not saying they should do away with them. I'm not saying they should be canceled. I'm saying that as parents, it's up to us to decide whether or not our children not I think there is a very different thing keeping me from watching it because my mother knew I had a tender heart. Me keeping it from my son because I knew he had a tender heart,
Interesting.
then forcing us to watch it because it taught us about real life. That's two different directions. What do you think about that?
Yeah. There's an age appropriate for sure, but all right. You know, uh, just teach someone about real life. You want to show them a dog that just got hit? No, absolutely not.
I,
That's
I
just that's just traumatic
and cruel, I
and,
think.
and cruel. Exactly.
Okay,
And so
so
take it down a notch, and a movie that shows real life might not be age appropriate.
not
At
right.
9 or 10, sure.
Right. Well, and it might not ever be appropriate. I will never watch it. It's not just I am just my heart is made out of glass.
Hmm.
When
Mine
I
too.
lost my dog, the dog that was actually mine, I was shot for like 3 years. I was
Yep.
devastated.
Yep.
Now, the fact of the matter is I haven't lost any actual people since I was 20.
Nice.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
So, but so I guess the question in all of that, as it relates to the conversation, which is joy, is is it more available to some of us than others? And if so, how do we help those others access it? Because I believe that along with gratitude, joy is an antidote to fear and darkness.
Yeah.
Joy elicits love. Joy is a part of unconditional love.
Yep.
Joy and it's love. Love is the exact polar opposite of fear, right?
Hmm.
Love is the polarity of fear. It just is. So if joy is what we need so bad, how do we,
Wow. It's like, how do you teach someone to taste strawberries? Well,
right? Right?
not sure where to start. Um,
No, I
but
no,
this
I
is really
know.
important. What this would be a good nut to crack. Um, so I guess one of the things that needs to come out of it is that you don't can't rely on what's going on, what's happening to you to allow or disallow joy, right? Meaning, if you're having a crappy day, yeah, you're feeling a crappy day. If you're having a wonderful day, that cannot be the only way to experience joy. Meaning, external circumstances are not where it comes from.
So
Um,
so let me I'll give you this one and then let's go back to that. Um just, I asked a friend, how do you teach someone to feel joy? You don't force it. So this goes with what you're saying.
yep.
You don't force it, you guide them back to it.
Oh,
Joy is an inherent state, not a prize. I love that.
oh, that's good. That's really well said. It's not a
It's
prize.
right. It's not about teaching them to manufacture it, but to remember it and to create space for it.
Okay, so
So
that's
you're
getting back to that childhood, you know,
right, but
mindset.
it's also, what do you love to do? You love to go to concerts. So now you take that a step further. When you go to that concert, you hear that music that you love. How does that make you feel?
Yep.
And then now take that feeling to whatever degree and match it to other things in your life. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Oh
So,
man,
in
this
other
is so
words,
good.
right? Finding the feeling and then opening that space in your heart for that feeling to fill it up. And then, is it one of those things you think you can practice?
I
Like the
bet it
more
is.
you find it, right?
Yep.
The more
Yep.
you find it,
Yep.
the more you will find. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, if you can find a bear, um, it. Remember when I said if you go in somewhere loaded for bear, you're going to
You're
find
gonna
one,
find there. Yep.
right? I mean, and you do, right?
Yeah.
That's law of attraction, and most of us at least, and many of us that are listening believe in the law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
So if
Sure.
you find that feeling, create that space in your body for joy, can you attract more things to be joyful about? If
Cool.
by connecting to gratitude, slow down, people. If by connecting to gratitude, you actually take on the frequency of gratitude, thereby attracting more things to be grateful for,
Mhm.
is it not the same with joy?
I would 100% agree that it is. That's
Isn't
really
that amazing?
it is, yeah. You just
Isn't
gotta get started.
That's it. So this is like the joy initiative,
Cool.
right? The joy initiative. I mean,
I can feel a new business, um, project
right?
here.
Right? Well, I do have ideas. I'm not going to share them
Okay. Okay.
online, but I do have some ideas. Here's the thing. It's one thing, to say this, to connect to it, but then how do we maintain it, right? So I did a little research, I did a little research into like the types of joy.
Hmm.
What are the mechanics of joy? What is the anatomy of joy? What is it, like how can we find it? Where do we look for it? So I love this list: spontaneous joy, the belly laugh,
Hmm.
synchronicity, the song you needed right this minute.
Yep.
Yeah, those you can't make this up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joy, right? What
Yep.
does it feel like when you get one of those? Joy, quiet joy, the warm stillness in your chest when you're aligned or content. You, you,
Yeah. When,
that feeling that you have after you meditate,
yep. I was just gonna
right?
say that.
That's joy,
Yeah. It's
sacred
like
joy.
the
Yeah, right? Sacred joy when spirit brushes past and your soul remembers. And ooh, I got one for that one too.
cool.
Creative joy, the rush of inspiration, the joy of making something. I mean, you and I both have that, right?
Yep.
Like I know a lot of, I mean, I'll bet Cove and Tina can relate to that. She's a writer.
Yeah. When you
She
finish a
released a
project.
book,
Yep.
she's got it out there and it's
Yep.
being sold. I have an autographed copy my own self. Um, Communal joy, shared laughter, shared space, shared healing. I've always known that was important. And I used to do things at my space like laughter uninterrupted, just come and tell jokes and stupid stories and let's just all laugh and just create the energy of laughter and joy
Wow.
in
You
the
know
room.
what? That kind of goes along with the lines of the, girls' night out or the guys get together and
Exactly.
just laugh. I think as long as it doesn't degenerate into, you know, um, laughing at someone else's expense,
Oh
but
yeah, right, right.
in its purest form, girls' night out, the laughter of just, you know, joking around is it's so beneficial for our souls.
I mean, oof. Okay. And then the last one, sensory joy. The taste, the touch, the color that makes your soul purr.
Hmm.
The bite of shrimp de Dijon.
I was just for some reason shrimp was popped in my mind too. So
Yep.
thank you for sending that to my head.
Oh
Into
my gosh. So sorry.
no, I so um, when we travel, my favorite thing to do is to find a restaurant you know that has really good food. So foodie stuff is like
Right?
right, and we
Huge.
even joke that like when we travel, we try to find things to do to fill up the time between the meals. 'Cause-
I mean, you know, okay. So, and I just never understood this. I only traveled in the United States. I've traveled a little bit with family, some on my own.
Mhm.
I don't understand going to an entirely different state and telling me you want to eat at Pizza Hut or have
Oh,
breakfast at IHOP. Like,
yep,
why?
right, yep, I know.
No.
Yep.
Go
Take that
find a,
one step further. Kentucky Fried Chicken in Paris.
yeah, like, no.
No.
Find the bus driver, find the taxi driver, ask the hotel clerk, not where they think you should go.
Yeah.
Where do they go?
Yep.
I want to
Oh,
know where
cool.
you go.
Oh, nice. That's
I
cool.
want to eat where you want to eat.
Yep.
What's
You know,
good?
I long time ago when I was working for a company, this is probably my first or second job. I had to go to a job site, and the guy I was going with was an older guy. He was in his late 60s, and I was in my 20s. And it came time for lunch, and he says, "Well, we're going to go down the street here to um, Anna's Cafe." And I look at this place, and it's like a total dive. And there's all these regular, normal, um, fast food places
Yeah,
that we're
right.
passing. And he says, "When I travel, I just want to experience something local and something locally owned and something that's not the same as everywhere else." And we went in there and had the best meal I've ever had traveling.
Right?
It's like, yeah, totally. I was
Right?
like,
And I
that's really
guarantee that's
cool.
where the cab driver goes, right? The
Okay.
bus
Yep.
driver goes.
Yeah.
The,
Yep.
the guy that works behind the desk at the hotel, that's where he goes. He goes that little dive joint. He doesn't
Yeah.
go to the, you know, I mean, there is a reason there's a show called Diners, Drive-ins, and Dives,
Oh, interesting. I
right?
didn't know
Think
that.
about it, right? Like,
That's awesome. Go ahead.
um,
Well, you're gonna
and
help
and
bring a
I don't
membership.
know, I mean, for me, food, definitely food. Food brings me a lot of joy. My husband eats to live. I live to eat.
Okay. Yep. I'm
You
with
know,
you there, Angie. 100%.
but I mean, there are just some things that are just like, oh, and I just, it just makes me go, oh, and to me, that is the feeling of joy,
Yeah.
you
Yep.
know,
What you did
it,
right there, we need to capture that because that was
right?
it right there. That was it. You
Well,
nailed it.
hopefully when we pull out the clips, it'll find it, but we'll see. Anyway, so I want to go back to the sacred joy because I just
Mm,
want to tell a little story.
sure.
When I was studying Amakoki, I don't talk about it a lot. It's sort of not out there in the what in the forefront
Right.
anymore like it
Mhm.
once was. But it was a very wonderful and sacred study, and there were a lot of levels. I've been through, I don't know, 7 or 8,
Wow. Amazing.
8 levels. I've done 8 levels, but I remember when I hit level 4. So Amakoki is a yantra mantra based system.
Okay.
So, for those that aren't aware, symbol and name, the
And
name of
name.
the symbol,
Okay.
yantra mantra. And I will never forget when I was taught the symbol for level 4 and I experienced the energy the first time. I heard in my mind, "Hello, old friend."
Oh,
I mean, I get chills just still thinking about
me
it.
too. I
Like,
just got it. Just no.
um, I don't know that a lot of us are still enough to feel that whisper, but if you can get there, there's just nothing like it,
Wow. Huh.
right?
Yeah.
There's just nothing like it when your soul remembers. She le- she she just learned about hashtags are all about. Wait, I had to laugh at myself because I just learned about what hashtags are. All about when I finally asked someone and made a short video about it with several hashtags. Yep, very late to the party.
That's
I,
funny.
I think I think it's funny because you see people making hashtags, and I don't think a lot of people really do know what they're for. They're a search tool.
Yeah.
So
They're a short form.
if you make what you think is an unusual and clever hashtag, you're not doing yourself any favors.
Nope. You want to use the hashtags that are in common use.
Right? So anyway, um, and there are YouTube tags involved with nearly every video when I remember to go back and put them in. Um, anyway, what are we? Where are we?
You were
22.
talking
Oh,
about,
we got time still.
yeah.
I wanted to see where we were at as
Oh,
we sort of uh, sift through what we want to do, kind of moving forward, because um, I just think that like that really spontaneous, quiet, sacred, creative, communal, and sensory. What else is there?
hmm.
Like I think that pretty well covers it.
Yeah. I
I
would say
love
that
these
pretty well covers it.
um I love these little Angie-isms. They my friends call them Angie-isms.
Oh,
Joy
okay.
is the yes whispered from your soul.
Mm,
You
nice.
can't chase joy, but you can make space for it.
Yeah, where do
And
you
this
come up
is
with this
my
stuff,
my
Angie? This is
favorite.
like these are like words of wisdom here.
I
I
know,
feel
right?
like I'm in the presence of a
Well, this friend knows me very well. Has been, communicating with me for a long time. Um, Joy is alignment's favorite flavor.
hmm,
So, I mean, this really goes to the idea that joy is another one of those foundational energies. You know how we
yeah,
say gratitude is a foundation. I think joy, like your ability to access joy, directly affects the alignment and flow that you can find. Because if you don't understand the feeling of joy, what are you seeking?
yeah. What's occupying your headspace then? If it's not
Right?
that, right?
Well, and like when people say, I want to find my life's purpose, I want to do, you know, I mean, what is it? Not information. That's the wrong word, kids. The best advice is do what lights you up, right?
Hmm.
Do what sparks that in you. But a lot of people are well, I mean, it really is kind of like one, because we talked about it last week, I think, or the week before. I think it was last week. Um, Talked about how I'm planning to give up my space
Yeah.
and how when I first started doing those sessions really brought me joy. When I did those sessions and I could see people having shifts and changes and accessing their energy and shifting their energy and things happening for them, that was a joyful experience for me. But then as time wore on, it was no longer the same. So I think, when we're trying to create some, especially I'm in the world right now with a lot of people trying to create online businesses, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Wanting to be online entrepreneurs.
Yep.
When you are trying to figure out what it is that you want to create, you really need to look at not what doing that work in this moment will do, not what one single session or workshop will do for you, but how is it going to feel after you've done 10 or 20 or
Right.
30 or
Or
100
5 years.
or 5 years? And I'm here to tell you it's not the same.
Yeah.
It does not bring the same joy. So,
Interesting.
but is that okay? Like, so now,
Is
so
it okay
now
to
that,
move on?
right. So here's
Yes.
where the joy was. Oh, well, I'm not really finding it here anymore. Let me go look over here. And now what brings me joy? This brings me joy. This is one of the highlights of my week,
Yep.
coming here on
Yep.
Wednesdays to have this conversation with you.
Yep.
Like, so I like that this ties to the idea, joy, you can create it. We created it. We
That's
show
true.
up for it.
Mhm.
We found it, and now we do. You know, you and I would not be able to continue doing this if we had to talk about politics out,
I start craving mad.
right? Like,
Or
or or
taxes.
or and I would never, because nobody. I'm not doing that on a free channel. I'll tell you that right now. Um, the truth is, I do enjoy doing taxes when all goes well,
Right.
because I know what it's supposed to look like at the end. So I can take this pile of paper and condense it down into this flow that's
Yeah, okay,
actually,
you're right, you're right. That
you
is
know,
kinda your jam. That's
that
true.
I do enjoy that. Do I want to do it forever? Not for these lunatics. Oh, did I actually
Editor,
say that?
please cut that out. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Oh, um, but anyway, so I think, in the 50s, I think that people had the idea. Um, Coventina says it's been challenging with mental health challenges and using unique ways to uncover the joy within. I mean,
Mhm.
you got to find it within, right? Like that's where the spark is.
Yep.
So, oh crap! And now I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? That's what happens when I get off the train. Um, okay, I remember
50s,
now.
that's right, yeah.
In the 50s, people got jobs. They intended to keep their jobs. They got jobs in their 20s. They intended to keep their jobs for 40 or 45 years, get a gold watch, retire, and go live in the country somewhere.
Mhm.
Like that was how it worked. People were okay with doing the same thing over and over every day for 40 or 45 years. That's just how it was. And I just don't think that we're cut out like that anymore. Like there's been some sort of an evolution to people over this time that we're not really as um, comfortable with the mundane as we once were.
Yeah, I think that is true, and I think that's a good thing. I
I
love
do
hearing
too.
about, like, the second career or the retired guy who, finally gets back to his guitar and spends the next 10 years playing in a band that he's always wanted to play in, right?
Right?
That's
Or
just
or
those are
whatever.
joyful stories. Artists, right? Painter, pottery, travel, right? It's those things that they've
or
always wanted to do and then are able to do.
and it might not be any of those things. It might be that they always really wanted to work in a restaurant, or
Yeah, yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
right. It doesn't
I
have to
think
be an artistic thing. It could just be a
it could just
like
be, it could be
yep,
anything, you
yep.
know? I mean, when you see,
By the way, we
I
got a really nice comment from Coventina. I want to read
oh,
it. She says, "This is the highlight of my week. You two are awesome. A blessing to be with like-minded people. Love you, friend."
that's joy.
Yep.
That's what elicits joy right there. It's, I mean, that's the point, isn't it? And I think that the more we work on keeping our own energy in balance, our own reactions in alignment and in balance, I think the easier it is to find joy. And it's interesting because I don't know what's happening with my television watching habits, but they seem to be shifting some, whatever. So I've been binging this show called Hometown.
Okay.
And then they have another version called Hometown Takeover, where it's this husband and wife team, and they were trying to rebuild their little town of Laurel, Mississippi.
Okay.
So Ben and Aaron Napier trying to rebuild their hometown of Laurel, Mississippi. And so they got this TV show and they started renovating houses. It's really interesting too if you binge it all at once, like 8 seasons worth, how you can see the prices of the houses go up and you can see the prices of the
Sure.
materials go up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, which is fine. But my point is, when you watch them, when he's a woodworker and a furniture maker, and they renovate these homes, and when you watch him look at something that would bring me anxiety, maybe even you, a uh, a dilapidated barn in the back piece of somebody's property that's all
Yep.
filled with what looks like probably mice and old furniture and junk. And he's like, oh my God, look at this piece of wood and what I could do with it. You're like, that's joy.
Yep.
When
It's
he tells a dad joke and her eyes light up, that's
that's so cool.
joy.
Mhm.
So it doesn't matter what you do, it matters that you find the joy in it. And you know, I think this is when we had that little conversation about manifesting and the idea of privilege. Sometimes people have to do things as a vocation to pay the rent and to keep food on their table that they don't necessarily enjoy,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yep,
But I think that you can, through your attitude, make it either harder or easier on yourself, you know?
yeah.
Um,
Keep going with that.
I believe that. I mean, who wants to work in the drive-through at McDonald's? Nobody, but the person needs a paycheck. They need to eat. They need to contribute to their family,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So, but if you
You know
can
what?
take, go ahead.
That reminds me, one of the things that when I was kind of researching this topic years ago, one of the things that kept coming back was people that said, you know what? When I realized I had joy within, I could do the dishes with joy because it it just allowed me to participate fully in what I was doing, not think, "Oh man, what a boring job," or what a it really sucks that I have to do this housework." The joy comes from within, and then whatever you're currently doing is just like, I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities or the best of my persona.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think I probably told this story, but I remember, and the actual conversation hinges on gratitude. But um, I ordered a coffee. I like my iced coffee with cream in it, but no sweetener. Somehow that translated to black. And the kid went to hand it to me, and I said, "Oh, that's black. I wanted cream." And he was like, and he went and looked, And then he went and fixed it, and he handed it back out to me. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for fixing that for me. I just really appreciate you." And his whole demeanor changed.
Oh, cool.
I could see it happen.
Mhm.
You could see that frustration melt away.
Yep.
And it's really interesting. I was going to mention that since we talked about taking on this, so this is what I want to make sure we get to today before the show is over.
Sure.
We started talking about taking this on as a concept for the foreseeable future,
Yep.
experiments and ideas and topics and talks and guests and all those things that involve joy. But it's really interesting that I noticed this week, since last week, I noticed just these little things that have been happening.
Hmm.
Um, like my friend and I went to this restaurant for lunch. It's called Syrup. I don't. They have square potatoes with their eggs. I don't understand it, but whatever. I'm a shredded person. But anyway, so we were in there, and my friend ordered a hamburger, and she's one of them that likes them decimated.
Mhm.
But they were very busy, so I think that you really, if you want it, really cooked well, you've got to ask for it really cooked well
Sure.
when it's that busy because they're going to try and get it off faster than they
Yep.
should.
Yep.
So when the waiter that we had, you could already tell he was having a little bit of a hard day. He's like, "I'm so sorry you had to wait so long." I said, "Hey, they told us how long we'd wait, and it was about that long. We're all good. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah.
We're cool."
Yep.
And then she gets her hamburger. She cuts it in half. Sacrilege as far as I'm concerned, but whatever. Wasn't me eating it. And it's pink in the middle. And it's
Oh no.
just, she
Right.
can't,
Not her
she just
thing.
can't.
Right. Yep.
So
Not her
we
thing.
called them over, and naturally that's going to take quite a while, to get a
Right.
new
Get it
one.
back
We
on the
called him
grill.
over and said, "It's just too pink. She can't deal with it." He said, "I'll get you a new one, whatever." But you could already see he's on the verge of tears. And then we were sitting there for a while, and then she says, and I really wish she wouldn't have done this, but she said, "Well, when you bring the burger, just bring a to go box."
Mm.
But what she meant was, I'm not going to be able to finish it, just bring it all at once.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But,
Right.
but I'm watching the guy, and I'm like, "No, no, it's okay. She's planning to eat it. She just knows there'll be some to take home. Like, it's all
Right.
good."
Yep.
So when it was all said and done, he came up to us. Meanwhile, this other waiter came up and he said, "Well, I just don't know, but I think I've waited on you before."
Mm.
And I had that little conversation. I said, "Well, I mean, I hope you remember us because it was a good thing." He said, "Believe me, if you were not nice, I would not be talking to you."
Fair. That's true.
You
That's
know?
true.
And I said, "Well, okay, that's good." Because it's funny, the guy, the last time we were there, he did the same thing. He
Mm.
like remembered us,
Yep.
me in particular. He walked up to me. So when we were finished, he dropped the check. He said, "I just want to thank you ladies for being so kind and patient." You could just
Mm.
tell he was on the verge of tears.
Yeah.
Things happen. You guys are busy. It's all good. Don't worry about it. Please don't think about it one more time. It's all good. We're fine. Then my friend gets up to go to we pay the bill. She gets up to go to the bathroom. I'm, get up, getting my jacket, getting ready to go. And the other one that said, "Oh," came over to me and he goes like this and he puts his arms out to give me a hug.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh my God, thank you."
Yeah.
Because life's been kind of hard.
Yep. Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know this person except for he waited on us one time
Right.
and then came up to us a second time and now a third time. I mean, it was just, you know, and then I'm in the doorway and somebody stopped. She's like, "Oh, you're looking good. Look, your
Oh,
hair,
I
that's
yeah.
great."
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
and the guy I work for even, he said, "Well, I don't know what it is, but your hair looks wonderful." And I'm like,
You know what
"Okay."
what's going on, Ange? It's vibes. You
It
are
is,
just
of course it is.
you are radiating
Ex-
vibes like
ex-
there's
ex-
no tomorrow, and
exactly.
everybody's picking those up. I
That's
love it.
it. That's
Absolutely
the
love it.
point.
Yep.
Find the place in your body where joy can live and make it open to accept it. Because
All the
all
time.
those things brought me these little pieces of joy. And there were others. I didn't, write
Yep.
anything down. And I don't want to, talk too long. So I think that the mission, shall we say,
Should you
mission,
choose to accept it.
exercise, or what? Yeah, the mission, should you choose to accept it, is to just sit for a moment and close your eyes and just really connect with that place in your body that joy lives. It may be in your heart, maybe in your throat, maybe you're a joy speaker,
Mhm.
maybe it's in your third eye, or it's in your solar plexus because you believe that joy and power can go together. Wherever it may be, find that place in your body that can be willing and open to accept joy, and then invite all the joy that is meant for you out in the world to find its way to you and then reside with you for as long as is necessary.
That's a blessing. That is a
It is a
beautiful blessing.
blessing. And when you come back to us next week, let us know how it went.
Wow.
I'm going to do the same thing, and we'll have in the beginning of the show, we'll have just a little joy spark in the
Perfect.
beginning of the show where we'll, what brought you joy this week? What brought you joy this week?
Yep. So keep track. At
Keep
least
track.
take some mental notes.
We are
Everybody.
we're closing in on the end of the show, but there was one more thing that I read this week, and I shared it with you, John. It
Yep.
was that gentleman who, was it a gentleman or was it a lady? No, it was Mel Robbins, wasn't it? I watch so many videos all the time, I can never remember who's what. This was Mel Robbins, and she said, I'm going to ask you to do something that's going to sound a
Oh,
little crazy.
yes. That was awesome.
I'm going to ask you to do something that's going to sound a little crazy, but I want to help you reset your brain to experience happiness and, to me, by extension, joy. And she said, I want you to go in the morning to the mirror and look at yourself in the eye and look at that connection between you and the mirror. And we actually have the video because I shared it with you. So,
Yep.
but I'm sure it'd be easy enough to find. But basically, she said, what you're doing is you're connecting to yourself, right? She said, and then what I want you to do is give yourself a high five. And why a high five? What are we saying when we do a high five? We're saying
It's good. Yes.
it's
Good job.
good. And then when you high five another person, you're saying, I see you. I understand you.
Mhm.
I've got you.
I affirm you.
I affirm you. So, John, at the end of the show, I think what we should do is high five everybody to thank them from listening.
Absolutely.
Thank them for listening. So for today, this will be the end. Please stay with us as we figure out what this whole joy initiative. Thank you too, Coventina. You have a great week.
Awesome.
Please stick with us as we figure out what this joy initiative really looks like and what it can bring to the party. And at the end of it all, high five. We see you. We've got you. We want you to succeed. Feel the joy. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Blessings.